Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I'm going to show y'all how to make these earrings. So let's go ahead and get started. So to make these earrings, and you could swap out the charms for different things, but however variations you decide to take on this, the techniques will remain the same. But I have two key charms, two of these welded textured metal rings. There will be links to everything down in the video description, to where some of these things I've had for quite a while. Like I bought these from Michael's, it feels like ages ago, but I'll try to link the closest thing that I can currently find at the time of recording to help you get started shopping. And then here we have two of these 2-hole tile beads. We have two little teardrop beads that are drilled top to bottom, and those are going to go with these ball pins. We have some small, like 2x4mm, like little faceted glass beads, our ear hooks, earring backs, some 20 gauge 1/8 inch stainless steel jump rings that I use for weaving chainmail, but I think are perfect for this as well. And then we're going to be using about, maybe a 2-inch section, two 2-inch sections. It's probably overkill, but you want the thickest wire that you can fit through your tile bead, and really you only need probably about 1.5 inches, so 2 1.5-inch long segments, and then some 24 gauge wire. And again, all of this will be down in the video description. And I'm pulling my wire snips, my round nose pliers, and then some bent nose and flat nose for doing the jump rings. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to measure off boop and boop are 2 lengths, and I'm actually going to be making another pair of these earrings after recording this tutorial, so I'm going to go ahead and snip 4, but that's just for my own purposes. Let's set 2 of them aside. There we go. Now we're done with our 20 gauge. You could also use the 20 gauge to make your own ear hooks, and we do have a wire wrapping masterclass episode at our website, backtoearthcreations.com, showing how to make a wide variety of your own ear hooks. So there should hopefully be something linked up on the screen, and that will take you to that masterclass, or you can just purchase them. But either way, 20 gauge works really well for that. And we're going to start by doing our wrapped links, which again, we have a masterclass for this one as well. But I'm going to come through, and I like to use these narrow tipped step nose pliers to, I'll zoom in just a smidge, establish the distance between the bead and where the bend is. So there's one. And then this just really helps me have one less thing to think about whenever I'm making my jewelry. In 2. And so now that we have that bend, I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, and I just push it against just as deep as it'll go, because again, the size of that bend is going to establish, but I'm just keeping note of it because I want my loops to be the same size. So I'm shaping this around, making it so that if the bead is the body, in that loop that we just made is the head, it's got a scarf going very dramatically in the wind. I'm going to leave my round nose pliers in the loop to help maintain its shape, but I'm making sure to not be doing a death grip. We just need to have it in place. And then I'm going to wrap, there's once and twice and thrice, and then once more for good measure. So it was about 3.5 wraps. And then I'm coming in with my wire snips and snip, catch that little tail from flying off into my coffee. And we're going to do a little squishy smush because we don't want any little pokey bits. If something can get tangled, it will. So, and there we go. And we're going to do that twice. So I'm going to do it again. Placing there like that. And then I'm going to come around. And then I'm going to grab this, and there's 1 bend, 2 bend, 3 bend, and 4. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to snip, again catching that little bit of tail wire. And there's our second one. And so I've got those prepped, so now I'm just setting them off to the side. And now we're going to take our 20 gauge, and I have a little notch marked on my plier tips. And I'm going to just be halfway between that notch and the tip of the pliers, just to help gauge the size of what I'm doing. And then I'm going to make a little loop that's leaning to one side. Sometimes I'll do bends and stuff and try to get loops to be like very centered up like a balloon as opposed to a P. But today I'm looking for a P loop. Just like that. Sometimes I use the, I don't know how much I recommend this because if you squeeze too hard on a soft wire, it can mar what you're working with. But I'll just use the box hinge to make sure everything's flat. So if you see me do that, that's all that's going on there. And honestly, it's a bad habit of mine because if I were using like aluminum or something, this would have totally ate my wire, like, and left a little notch in it. So now I'm going to come and I'm going to snip about here. I'd really like my loops to be the same size. I should have kept track of how much wire I was using. But now I can totally try to keep these two. So at least if they're lopsided, they'll be lopsided together. And I'm snipping with my flush cutters in a way to make sure that the flat side leaves my wire flat. But we have that coming through right there. And now I'm going to try to place it on the same position on my pliers. And I'm going to make my little loop. Ooh, it's making it a little small, but that's okay. Just a little lopsided, that'll be fine. And then I'm going to thread this through. And then we're going to hook this on. So, and you could change the shape of your loops if you wanted. You don't have to do them in this manner. This is just how I'm doing it today, and I like that. And so from here we could even, let's go ahead and attach our keys. So that's only going to take 4. And I like to use jump rings that are intended for chainmail because they're a little bit more robust. Like even though these are small, they are not flimsy. And so the technique that we're going to be using for opening and closing our rings, as you can see, they're a little offset. That's just how they are and the nature of how they're made, being, you know, a whole like coiled spring almost gets made. And then whenever we cut our own, we go through with a blade that's very thin. It's like 1/100 of an inch. Now we buy these from theringlord.com, but we used to coil and cut our own rings. But you'll just want to take it and you'll open it like that, so that whenever you look at it from a particular angle, it's still a perfect circle, just because it helps the ring to maintain its integrity as well as its nice shape. Because if you open a ring, pretend like this is a chainmail ring, if you open it like this, you're making a brittle spot where you're work hardening it and making it be tense, and it'll eventually break in half. So now I've hooked through one side. Oh no, my little key charm's missing his little key bit. Well, through the magic of editing, we'll go get another one. But I've attached on one side. And then I'm going to hook through the same loop on my key. And then I'm going to hook through the loop on that side. Whoop. And it's a little fiddly. Sometimes it doesn't always want to lay right, but we'll just try again. And then close that ring. And then wiggle, wiggle. It just is going to sit like that. And I like it. So let's go get a replacement key. Alrighty, so we have our replacement key piece. And there's that one. And there's that one. Now I'm picking that up and I'm hooking through, and then I'm going to close it. And whenever I close it, I'm adding a little bit of pressure between my pliers to kind of close that gap. And I want to get just as good of a closure as I can. And if you're new to this, be patient with yourself. You'll get the hang of it. Oof. Is that? Yeah, that seems to be correct. Okay. So there we go. Oh, that's hanging lovely. I like that. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, so now we have those parts assembled, and then we've got these parts assembled. So now is the fun part. We are going to pull off, oh, way more than what we need. So like 2 feet of our 24 gauge wire. And I'm going to grab our tile bead, which really, this could probably be done with any 2-hole bead. But we were just messing around in one of our Kik live streams, and no, actually I think this one we made in a YouTube live stream. We were hanging out in the craft room, having a good time, and I just thought this was too cute of an earring design to not share with y'all. And earrings are just pendants that I've made 2 of, so you could totally modify this in size or, you know, structure, however you like it, to be a pendant or, you know, whatever you feel compelled to do. But if y'all do follow along with any of our tutorials, or if you use any of the materials from our craft along kits or that we sell on our website, backtoearthcreations.com, be sure to use the hashtag craftalongwithvon, and that way we can all see what you're working on. So I've wrapped 3 times, and I'm making sure that the wire's exiting, like wrapping around from the front on both sides. And you can see whenever this ring was welded, it's a little misaligned. I'm going to hide that with my coiling. I'm going to try to. So I just have our bead coming down just a little, and then there's 1. You could use a 26 gauge as well, but I liked this 24. It had a little bit more body to it. 2 and 3. Yep, and I'm just counting the little coils, 3 on each side, and now, whoop, that's probably too many. I just need 10 per earring. 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, excellent. So I am just going to demonstrate, no, I'll show you both. You never know when something weird is going to happen with the jewelry. So I do like to demonstrate, if it's, you know, an earring, how to try to make it symmetrical, you know. So coming around, and whichever way you're holding this, whether it's the wires on top or whether the wires on bottom, I'm just going to continue vining it around our ring. And now you can see here, one end is closer to the ring than the other, and I think that'll be all right. If it's sometimes if it's a round bead or something, we might be able to make it lay a little more directly next to it, but I kind of like this offset look. And so there was 1, and then I did the 3 coils, just maintaining the direction that we're doing the wire. So then there's 2, and I'm trying to be consistent. However it ends up happening, whatever creative twist you put on it, I'm just trying to be consistent, because then it'll look intentional. So it doesn't have to look like mine. Certainly not. So there's 1, 2, 3. And I'm counting the inner humps. 1, 2, 3. So again, just being consistent. And then sliding that on. And then flump. And then, so that was 1. Here's 2. And there's 3. I'm going to give the little squishy smush, which can be kind of tricky on a textured hoop, but we can do it. 1, 2, 3. And then there's our fourth one, threading through. And you can see that like they're a little offset, but I do like to use just the squishy parts of my finger to try to get them all equally squished. So there's 1. And there's 2. And there's 3. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to leave a little bit of a gap at the top for the ear hook to be attaching. So I am going to go ahead and thread on our last little bead for on this side. And then there's 1, 2, 3. Let's go for 5. 4 and 5. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to snip that. And I'm going to give it a little squish with my pliers. Now, I want to be very careful in the process of squishing these in-between parts because I do not want to break one of my glass beads. But you can see that's just a very traditional wire wrapping technique to make like if you kind of visualize it, you've probably seen your earrings before that have, I love making these with like an 8, 6, and 4 millimeter gemstone beads, and then finished off with some little 3 and 2 and 1.5 millimeter metal beads. Like it makes a really pretty little hoop earring. But I thought this made a nice fun change to that. And so now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Sliding on that bead, letting it slide all the way down and then coming through to the middle. And this is where it usually gets tricky for me to try to stay consistent, but just paying attention to what we're doing can really help. Like being very attentive to the magic that happens in the details. There's 2, and there's 3. And then we can pick up another bead. And then there's 1. And then 2. And then 3. Oh, I just love this earring design too because it looks like it's got a lot going on, and honestly it kind of does. Like there's a lot of different components. It's not just 2 sizes of wire, but oh my gosh, it comes together so easy. Like I just finished recording a tutorial for like this style, and so this is so like nice to just be doing a little bit of a whip stitch with a bead on it, like, and it makes such a beautiful earring, I think. So it's projects like this that are some of the most fun for me to make, where you're it's solidly within my comfort zone. It's not too hard on my hands. My 2 brain cells aren't having to work too hard. Sometimes I really enjoy being challenged, but sometimes it's nice to just sit back and play with some pretty beads and some sparkly stuff. Now that being said, this can be, if this is your first project, don't be hard on yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the project. You may be running into problems with your wire kinking. If that's the case, just try to work in very large loops, leaving this loop area nice and big. And then whenever we come down like this, instead of pulling, that makes a really small loop area, and that can have a tendency to kink. So I'll pull it with my thumb in the way, and then that lets me cinch it in just a little bit more. So there are lots of opportunity for frustration on this piece. Ooh, and there's that last one. And again, by holding that bead there and then kind of pressing that around, it focuses Because if I were just holding here and trying to pull, the wire's not going where I want. I like to hold with these two and then with these two, and then I really get in there and give it a solid tug. Ooh, and you can see that's another example where it didn't kink, but it's not quite where I wanted it to be. And if you're having a lot of trouble with that, I might recommend reducing to a size 26 gauge as opposed to a 24 gauge. There's the fourth one, and here's the fifth one. So now I'm just going to take my pliers. I really like my bent nose pliers for this because I can bypass the bead entirely, and I'm just going to squeeze those coils together. And another word to a beginner, something I wish I could go back and say to myself, is if you're working on a project, heck, I don't know, anybody, even professionals could probably do to hear this. I'm due to hear it. Instead of looking at a project and being like, ugh, I suck at this. Well, okay, what don't you like about your piece? You know, so if I were looking at something and it's like, well, I don't like how, like if my bead edging were inconsistent, or if my ring closure, or if it was really bothering me that these two loops were different sizes. Be specific and constructive in the criticism that you give to yourself, because as artists, we really can be our own biggest critics, but that can become our superpower if we're constructive about it. Because that critical eye can help us to do our best work. But if you can pinpoint, you know, the things that are bothering you about your piece, then, well, the obstacle is the way. Now you know what you need to work on. So I'm going to position this so that the cut ends, which I've snipped them and I'm doing the pokey test and they're not pokey, but I am going to have them face towards the back of the earring. And then I'm just going to hang that little teardrop right on the earring hook, which I've opened just like it were a jump ring. And then I'm going to press that closed, trying to get the loop to be lined up with the earring hook. And there is a super cute earring. Now I get to wonder at it. I do like it with the little bead up at the top, but I don't mind it without it. I kind of prefer where the teardrop hangs, centered in the hoop, without the additional bead. But that's just another avenue for variation, and also just that little bit of color variation between the two. I love mixed metals, but I also really like the silver one. So let me know down in the comments which one is y'all's favorite, and we are going to go ahead and get started on the second one. So we've got that, we've got our ear hook. Let's pick out 10 beads. Now, oh, I would really love like a size 8 seed bead for this, or like a 3mm gemstone. There we go. There's our 10 beads. Wish the tape's getting kind of jank on that to keep the lid on it. Alrighty, and that seems to have been a really good length. So about 2 feet of our 24 gauge wire. And now I'm going to come through, finding the ends so that I can thread our tile bead down. And I am going to continue on making this earring, but I am going to let everybody know, because, you know, it's YouTube, I understand. A lot of folks aren't going to watch towards the end, or till the end, but I do want to take this opportunity to thank you for being here and for watching. I do hope that this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. I love hearing from y'all. I think I'd mentioned the hashtag Craft Along with Vaughn. We also have a calendar of events up on our website. That's backtoearthcreations.com. Yeah, sorry, I was about to tell you my email address, which our email is backtoearthcreations@yahoo.com. Like, wherever you're trying to find us, that's the name that we go by. So whether it's on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or here on YouTube, But just any way that, if we can be helpful to you, just let us know. If you enjoy our free tutorials and would like to support the creation of more of them, as well as participate in our behind the scenes content and our member only archive of all of our different Kik live streams and different things, links to how you can do that are down in the video description. We also send out monthly craft along kits where we do an unboxing, and then a lot of the times on Fridays, in our Friday live streams, I'll be working with the materials that we send out in those kits. So you can literally be crafting along with me with the same materials that we use in our own work. And that's beads and wire and cabochons and stuff. Oh, heck, I'm going to have to use both my hands. There we go. But, yeah, there's all sorts of different ways to participate in what we do here. But also, the best way to support our channel is to just enjoy yourself. If you're liking the video, tickle the like button. Come back and watch more stuff. We post new tutorials every Sunday. We post new shop updates every Monday. We live stream over on Kik, that's KICK.com/Back to Earth Creations every Tuesday from noon till 5. And then we live stream on Fridays from 2 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then we live stream Lampwork Glass, where we make our own custom beads. You can actually order custom beads at our website now. I'm really excited about that. At the time of recording, that's like brand spanking new, and I'm thrilled with it, but it's like most things, a work in progress. But and we stream that on Kik from noon to 5. So, and then it resets every Sunday. So we're busy little worker bees over here, but I love it. I live to be helpful to y'all if I can. And oh boy, I do love crafting. So, and we don't just do wire wrapping, we also do polymer clay, chainmail, leatherworking. The Lampwork glass, we do fused glass. Like all the cabs that we send out in our crafter kits, we make here in our home. Unless, with the rare exception of sometimes we'll include like gemstone cabochons that we get at like gem and mineral shows and stuff. Whoop, thread that on there. But I think that's the whole end of the video blurb. And we're still just crafting on along. But on our calendar of events, we also have where we will be vending in person this year, which I think at the time of recording, we're currently vending at Anime St. Louis and Dragon Con. And I think those are in April and either late August or early September. It's like Labor Day weekend is Dragon Con every year. But we're hoping to start incorporating our own teaching events. But at the time of recording, that seed has not yet germinated. So we're still hopeful though. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go on that edge. And now we've got our 3 last 5 beads. It's coming together pretty nice, isn't it? Threading through, sliding down. Yeah, I'm going to keep going from this angle. So there's 1 little bead. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Ooh, actually, I want to show y'all because this is starting. I've done a lot of wire wrapping today, and this nail is not in as good condition as it was this morning. Let me go grab something. So this is a tool I've started using recently. This is just a pair or a bit of Nexcare tape that I use to make it fit my finger a little better, because it does have this split like an adjustable ring, but I really like not having to feel the metal against my skin whenever it digs into the back, because sometimes I really press, and whenever you press on the front, this back one digs into my finger. So the Nexcare is just like a foam medical adhesive tape, but this little tip here, actually let me pull that out. And the nice thing about the Nexcare, I know it looks like an old Band-Aid, like I am not glamorous, you guys, but here we are. I'm just gonna fit that onto my finger because I want a nice sizing, and I really like to get this bit here lined right up with where I'm used to my fingernail being. There we go. And now we're going to thread on our next bead, And I will have a link to this down in the video description. It is like the cheapest, most turn-your-green metal, but y'all, it was game-changing. And I'll show you, especially for weaving. So we'll thread through and we pull down, and then we just use that instead of our fingernail. So there's 2. And you can see that metal just goes right up against it. I haven't had any issues with it breaking beads or scratching my wire. 2, 3. Oh no, that's something I'm going to need to be careful of. Oh, I just broke off the little corner. Y'all, oh. Well, I guess I'm keeping this pair for myself. Well, that makes me sad. I wish I hadn't have done that, but I am very pleased to get to keep this pair for myself. So I'm glad I kept recording because it's not broken, but that is something to watch out for. And this is why I record both earrings. So I'm just trying to make sure that there's not too much wiggle in that then. And again, to hold nice and steady with both. So I'm trying to not hold it on that bead. So there's 1. And it's a little clumsy at first, but everything is. 2, 3. So there's 3 beads. Oh man, what? I caught it with my shirt. Huzzah! I didn't have to go chasing a bead. Okay. But I forget what I was talking about. It's been a long day. I'm just gonna keep sewing this on. I've started using my thumbnail instead of the thimble finger. But yeah, everything's a little clumsy at first, but that's okay. We'll get the hang of it. There's 4, and then our last bead. And then hooking through. But yeah, I especially like this for whenever I'm doing weaving. The little finger thimble. Like with straight core wires. So there's 3. And then 4. And you can see I'm kind of hiding that split where it's welded. There we go. Under that coil. So I'm just going to pop that off. And then we can snip. And then we can come through and we can squish. And we can kind of smush from the side as well. Very good. Flipping it over. Doing the little squishy smush. Excellent. Ear hook. Which, with these ear hooks, these two are not the same size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my mandrel pliers to just try to get this. Sometimes they get tangled and like pulled apart in the bag a little bit more. So I'm just squeezing that back down. You could also use like a finger ring mandrel or something. But I'm just going to grab this, and again I'm holding the loop of the ear hook, and I've just bent that open enough that we can put our wire wrapped ring and then our little thwomp teardrop, and then we're going to close it. Which, if you're having trouble with it, you could totally treat it exactly as you would a jump ring. There we go. Yes. Perfect. And there we are. We made some earrings, y'all. So yeah, all that stuff I said earlier still applies. If you liked the video, if you have any questions, leave them down below. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me during this video. I really enjoyed making these earrings with you. Thank you guys so much for hanging out during this video. I think I've already said everything that I needed to say, but I just wanted to thank you again because y'all really do make what we do here at Back to Earth Creations possible. So thank you guys so much, and I will see y'all next time. And until then, happy crafting. Mwah. Bye.